If you think freezing temperatures can't kill you in Texas, you're already making your first fatal mistake. Most people down here aren't ready for what real cold can do, and when that Arctic blast comes roaring through, it doesn't care if you've never seen snow before, or if your house was built for 100-degree summers. The cold will find every weakness in your home, your plan, and your preparedness, and it will exploit them without mercy. What happened in February 2021 wasn't a freak accident. It was a preview of what happens when unprepared people face conditions they don't respect. Hundreds died, millions suffered, and the worst part? Most of those deaths were completely preventable. So before you dismiss this as another weather event that'll blow over in a day or two, understand this. The mistakes people make during Texas freezes aren't just uncomfortable, they're deadly. And if you want to make sure you and your family survive the next one, you need to know exactly what not to do. If survival matters to you, hit that subscribe button right now, because what I'm about to share could save your life when that temperature drops and everything you thought you knew stops working. The first fatal mistake people make is thinking their home is ready when it absolutely isn't. Texas homes are built for heat, not cold. Your insulation is minimal compared to northern states. Your pipes run through attics and exterior walls. Your water heater sits in the garage. Your windows leak air like sieves. When a hard freeze hits, all of these vulnerabilities become life-threatening problems within hours. In 2021, burst pipes flooded thousands of homes, but it wasn't just property damage. People lost their safe shelter in the middle of a crisis. Families with young children and elderly relatives suddenly had no heat, no water, and nowhere dry to sleep. Some tried to stay. Some got hypothermia in their own bedrooms. Others evacuated into the freezing night with nowhere to go because hotels were full and roads were ice. The mistake isn't just failing to winterize. It's not understanding that your home can transform from your safest place into a death trap in a matter of hours. Here's what you need to do right now, before any freeze warning even appears. Locate every water pipe in your home, especially those in exterior walls, attics, and garages. These are your highest risk points. Insulate them with foam pipe insulation, which costs almost nothing but can prevent thousands in damage and keep your water flowing when you need it most. Know where your main water shutoff is, and make sure every adult in your house knows how to use it. When pipes burst, every second counts. The difference between minor damage and total flooding is often just how fast you can stop the water. Drain your outdoor faucets and disconnect garden hoses. Water left in these lines will freeze, expand, and crack the pipes. Then flood your home when it thaws. Seal gaps around windows and doors with weather stripping or even towels if you have to. Every bit of cold air that gets in makes your heating work harder and increases your risk if power fails. But here's where people really mess up. They wait until the freeze is already here to take action. By then, stores are stripped bare. Pipe insulation is gone, generators are sold out, propane tanks are empty. You're competing with millions of other unprepared people for the same resources, and you will lose that race. Preparation for a Texas freeze needs to happen in the fall, when nobody's thinking about it, when supplies are available and cheap. That's when you buy your insulation, check your heating system, test your backup plans. That's when you stock up on the supplies that will keep you alive if the power grid fails again. Because make no mistake, it can fail again, and probably will. The second fatal mistake is misunderstanding how quickly hypothermia kills, even in temperatures that don't seem that cold. People think hypothermia is something that happens to lost hikers in blizzards. They don't realize you can die of hypothermia inside your own home at temperatures in the 40s. When your body temperature drops just a few degrees, you start losing judgment and coordination. You feel tired, confused. You stop thinking clearly about the danger you're in. This is how people die in their sleep when the heat goes out. They go to bed thinking they'll be fine, maybe pile on some extra blankets, and their body temperature slowly drops through the night until their heart stops. It's quiet. It's painless at the end. And it's completely preventable if you understand the real danger. In any prolonged freeze where you might lose power, you need a solid layering system. Cotton kills in cold weather because it holds moisture and pulls heat away from your body. Wool and synthetic materials are what keep you alive. Base layer against your skin, insulating middle layer, windproof outer layer. Cover your head. You lose massive amounts of heat through your skull. Wear thick socks and insulated boots even inside if the power's out. Keep gloves accessible. The goal is to maintain your core body temperature above 95 degrees, and that requires constant vigilance when your home isn't heated. Sleep in your clothes if necessary. Use sleeping bags rated for cold weather, not just regular blankets. Pile your whole family into one room if you have to, because shared body heat can be the difference between survival and hypothermia. And here's a critical point most people miss. Children and elderly people lose body heat faster than healthy adults. They're your highest risk family members. Babies can't regulate their temperature effectively. Elderly people have slower metabolisms and thinner skin. If you have vulnerable people in your house, they need extra layers, extra monitoring, and they need to be your first priority for any heat source you have available. Check on them constantly. Look for signs of hypothermia: shivering, confusion, slurred speech, drowsiness. By the time someone stops shivering, they're in severe hypothermia and need emergency medical attention. Except in a freeze emergency, that help might not be able to reach you. The third fatal mistake, and this one kills more people than almost anything else, is using the wrong heating sources indoors. When the power fails and temperatures drop, desperate people start burning things inside their homes to stay warm. They fire up charcoal grills in the living room. They run gasoline generators in the garage with the door closed. They leave gas ovens on with the door open for hours. And they die from carbon monoxide poisoning, often while they sleep, sometimes taking their whole family with them. Carbon monoxide is invisible, odorless, and absolutely lethal. It binds to your blood cells more effectively than oxygen, essentially suffocating you from the inside while you feel nothing but maybe a headache and some dizziness before you lose consciousness. In 2021, Texas emergency rooms treated hundreds of carbon monoxide poisoning cases. Many didn't make it. Here's the hard truth: any combustion produces carbon monoxide. That includes propane heaters, kerosene heaters, charcoal, wood fires, gasoline engines, natural gas appliances. Anything that burns fuel releases this poison. If you run these devices indoors without proper ventilation, you're creating a death chamber. People think cracking a window is enough. It's not. You need significant airflow, which means you're letting out all the heat you're trying to generate. This is the terrible paradox of emergency heating. The safest heat sources for indoor use are electric, but those require power, which you don't have. The fuel-burning alternatives that don't need electricity will kill you if used improperly. So what's the solution? First, never ever run a generator inside your home or in an attached garage, even with doors or windows open. Generators produce massive amounts of carbon monoxide, enough to kill you in minutes in an enclosed space. They go outside at least 20 feet from any door or window, with the exhaust pointing away from the house. Second, if you're using any kind of fuel-burning heater indoors, and I mean propane catalytic heaters specifically designed and rated for indoor use, you need a battery-powered carbon monoxide detector in the same room. Not optional, not negotiable. Your life depends on it. Test these detectors before the freeze. Keep spare batteries. If it goes off, you get everyone outside immediately, no matter how cold it is. Better to be cold than dead. Third, understand your heating priorities. You're not trying to heat your whole house when the power's out. That's impossible and dangerous. You're creating one safe, warm room where everyone stays together. Pick an interior room with no exterior walls if possible. Close it off from the rest of the house. This is your survival room. All your heating resources go here. All your people stay here. This concentration of heat and bodies makes the space manageable with limited resources. Trying to heat a whole house with portable heaters or camp stoves is how people poison themselves. They spread out, run multiple devices, and fill the whole structure with carbon monoxide. The fourth fatal mistake is not having backup water and not understanding that frozen water kills through dehydration. When the freeze hit in 2021, millions of Texans lost water service. Treatment plants froze, pipes burst, pressure dropped. Suddenly, people couldn't drink, couldn't flush toilets, couldn't cook, couldn't wash. Dehydration sets in faster than people realize, especially when you're cold and not feeling thirsty. Your body needs water constantly to function, and in cold conditions, you might not realize you're getting dehydrated until you're already in trouble. Confusion. weakness, rapid heartbeat, dark urine. These are signs your body is shutting down from lack of water. 3 days without water and you're dead, but serious problems start much sooner. You need 1 gallon of water per person per day as an absolute minimum. That's for drinking only. If you want to maintain basic hygiene or cook, double it. For a family of 4 preparing for a week-long freeze emergency, that's 56 gallons of stored water. Yes, that's a lot. Yes, you need it anyway. Store it in food-grade containers in a dark, cool place. Rotate it every 6 months. When a freeze warning is issued, fill every container you have. Bathtubs, sinks, pots, buckets, clean trash cans. Once you lose pressure, it's too late. You'll be fighting crowds at stores for bottled water that's already gone. But here's what most people don't think about. Frozen water sources aren't useless if you know what to do. If you have snow or ice available, you can melt it for water. But you have to purify it, boiling for at least 1 minute, longer at higher elevations, though Texas elevations aren't usually an issue. If you can't boil, water purification tablets or a few drops of unscented household bleach per gallon will work. 8 drops per gallon for regular bleach, 16 for cloudy water, then let it sit for 30 minutes. This is survival knowledge that separates people who make it from people who don't. Your swimming pool, if you have one, is a massive emergency water source. It's not safe to drink without treatment, but it's there. Boil it or treat it. Your water heater holds 30 to 50 gallons of drinkable water that most people forget about. Know how to drain it from the bottom valve. And for the love of everything, don't eat snow directly to stay hydrated. Your body has to warm that snow to body temperature, which burns calories and actually accelerates hypothermia. Always melt it first if possible. If you must eat snow, pack it into your mouth in small amounts and let it melt slowly rather than swallowing chunks of ice. But really, that's a last resort situation you shouldn't end up in if you plan properly. The 5th fatal mistake is not having food that doesn't require cooking or refrigeration. When the power goes out in a freeze, you lose refrigeration, you lose electric stoves, you lose microwaves. If you have a gas stove, great. Unless gas service also fails like it did for many people in 2021. Your food storage needs to account for a scenario where you can't cook anything and you can't keep anything cold. Most people's refrigerators are full of food that will spoil in a day without power. Their pantries have dried goods that need boiling water. Their freezers have meat that'll thaw and rot. None of this helps you in an emergency. Stock shelf-stable foods that are ready to eat. Canned goods with pop tops so you don't need a can opener if yours breaks. Peanut butter, crackers, energy bars, dried fruit, nuts, protein powder, canned beans, vegetables, soup, tuna, chicken, powdered milk, instant oatmeal that you can eat with cold water if necessary. It's not pleasant, but it works. Aim for 2,000 calories per person per day minimum, more if you're doing physical work or dealing with cold stress. A week's supply for a family of 4 is roughly 56,000 calories. Read labels. Do the math. Have enough. Here's something critical. Cold weather burns more calories because your body works harder to stay warm. If you're not eating enough, you're weakening yourself right when you need strength most. Hunger and cold together create a downward spiral. You get weak, you get colder. You burn more calories, you get weaker. Keep your calorie intake up, even if you don't feel hungry. Make yourself eat on a schedule. High-fat, high-protein foods give you sustained energy and help maintain body temperature. Carbohydrates give quick energy but burn fast. You need both. In a freeze with no power, you can actually use the cold as a refrigerator. Put perishables in a cooler outside or in an unheated room where temperatures stay between 32 and 40 degrees. This keeps food safe without electricity. But monitor the temperature. If it drops too low, liquids freeze and bottles burst. If it's not cold enough, food spoils. A refrigerator thermometer in the cooler tells you what you need to know. The 6th fatal mistake is losing communication and information when you need them most. In 2021, cell towers went down. Internet failed. People couldn't call for help. Couldn't check weather updates. Couldn't coordinate with family members who weren't home. They went completely dark right when they needed information about water service restoration, warming centers, road conditions, when power might return. Being cut off from information in a crisis amplifies every other problem you face. You make bad decisions because you don't know what's happening. You take unnecessary risks because you don't know about available help. You stay when you should evacuate, or evacuate when you should shelter in place. You need multiple communication methods, a battery-powered or hand-crank emergency radio that receives NOAA weather broadcasts and AM/FM stations. When everything else fails, radio still works. Keep fresh batteries stored with it. A car charger for your phone, because your vehicle's battery is a power source if you can safely run the engine periodically. Don't sit in a running car in an enclosed space like a garage. Carbon monoxide again. Run it outside, in a well-ventilated area just long enough to charge devices. Portable battery banks charged and ready before the freeze hits. These can recharge phones multiple times without needing wall power. A list of emergency numbers written down, because you won't remember them if your phone dies and you can't Google them. Tell someone outside the affected area your plans, a friend or family member in another state who you'll check in with daily. If they don't hear from you, they know to send help. This external contact point is your safety net when local systems fail. Establish a communication schedule before the emergency. You'll call every day at noon, for example. If you miss a check-in, they start making calls on your behalf. The seventh fatal mistake, and people really don't want to hear this, is staying when they should leave. Pride kills. Stubbornness kills. The attitude of "I can tough it out" kills. There's a point in any freeze emergency where staying in your home becomes more dangerous than braving the roads to get somewhere with heat and resources. Recognizing that point and acting on it requires humility and clear thinking, neither of which are abundant when you're cold, scared, and invested in the idea that you can handle anything. The reality is that some situations exceed your resources no matter how prepared you are. If your heat fails and you have no safe backup, if someone in your family has a medical emergency and you can't get help to come to you, if your shelter is compromised by burst pipes or fire or structural damage, if you're running out of water or food and have no way to get more. These are scenarios where evacuation isn't cowardice, it's survival. Know your evacuation triggers before the crisis hits. Write them down. If X happens, we leave. If our heat source fails completely and temperatures inside drop below 50 degrees, we leave. If anyone shows symptoms of hypothermia or carbon monoxide poisoning, we leave. If we can't get drinking water, we leave. Make these decisions when you're thinking clearly, not when you're desperate. Identify where you'll go: a friend's house in an unaffected area, a designated warming center, a hotel if roads are safe and rooms are available. Keep your vehicle's gas tank above half full during winter months. A full tank of gas is more than transportation. It's a heat source, a power source, a lifeline. Check your vehicle's emergency kit: blankets, water, non-perishable food, first aid supplies, flashlight, ice scraper, sand or kitty litter for traction if you get stuck. If you have to evacuate in a freeze, your car might be your temporary shelter if you can't reach your destination. But here's the critical point. Leaving has to happen early, before roads become impassable, before traffic is gridlocked with other evacuees, before hotels fill up. Wait too long and you're trapped, committed to staying whether you want to or not. Monitor weather forecasts obsessively when a freeze warning is issued. Understand that conditions can deteriorate faster than predictions suggest. If you're on the fence about leaving, err toward leaving earlier. You can always come back when it's over. You can't undie if you wait too long. The eighth fatal mistake is medical complacency. Freezing temperatures exacerbate existing health conditions and create new emergencies faster than normal conditions. Heart attacks spike during cold weather because your heart works harder to maintain body temperature and blood vessels constrict. Respiratory problems worsen because cold air irritates airways. Falls on ice cause fractures, especially in elderly people. Frostbite and hypothermia are obvious risks, and when the medical system is overwhelmed and ambulances can't get through icy roads, you're on your own for longer than you'd ever expect. In 2021, emergency response times stretched to hours. Some people waited all night for help that never came. If you or anyone in your family has chronic health conditions, have at least a 30-day supply of all medications before winter even starts. If you use medical equipment that requires electricity, CPAP machines, oxygen concentrators, nebulizers, You need a backup power source that's tested and ready. A small portable generator or battery backup system specifically for medical devices can be the difference between life and death. Talk to your doctor about emergency planning for your specific conditions. Get it in writing. Know what to do if you can't access your medications. Have a comprehensive first aid kit that goes beyond basic band-aids. Include supplies for treating hypothermia, chemical heat packs, hypothermia wrap or emergency blankets, thermometer that reads low temperatures, supplies for treating minor injuries that could become major problems without medical care, antibiotics if you can get them, extensive wound care supplies, pain medication, anti-diarrheal medication, electrolyte replacement. Know basic first aid and CPR. In a prolonged freeze emergency, you might be your family's only medical provider. Monitor everyone's physical and mental state constantly. Cold stress is real. Cabin fever in a survival room with your whole family for days creates tension and poor decision-making. Stay calm. Maintain routines as much as possible. Keep children occupied. Check on everyone regularly for signs of hypothermia, frostbite, illness, or injury. Don't ignore small problems hoping they'll get better on their own. In survival situations, small problems become big problems fast. The 9th fatal mistake is isolation from community resources and mutual aid. Americans like to think they can handle everything alone, and that attitude gets people killed. When a freeze emergency hits a whole region, your neighbors are facing the same problems you are. Some have resources you lack. You have resources they lack. Combining forces multiplies everyone's chance of survival. But you have to build those relationships before the emergency hits, not during it. Know your neighbors. Talk to them. Make plans together. A neighborhood that works together can share generators, pool supplies, check on vulnerable residents, provide mutual security, and coordinate transportation to resources. Find out before the freeze who has a generator, who has a fireplace, who has four-wheel drive, who has medical training, who has elderly parents they're caring for, who has young children. When the emergency hits, you know who needs help and who can provide it. Organize a phone tree or text chain that works even with limited connectivity. During the 2021 freeze, the neighborhoods that functioned best were the ones where people knocked on doors, checked on each other, shared resources, and made collective decisions. The ones where everyone isolated behind locked doors did worse. But understand this: community mutual aid only works if you bring value to the table. You can't be the person who shows up empty-handed expecting others to save you. You prepare yourself first, then you become a resource to your community. That's how you earn mutual aid, rather than becoming a burden others have to choose whether to help or leave behind. The 10th fatal mistake is learning nothing from past events and failing to prepare for the next one. The 2021 freeze wasn't a once-in-a-lifetime event. Climate patterns are becoming more unstable. Polar vortex disruptions happen more frequently. Texas will face another major freeze, probably within the next few years. When it happens, most people will be just as unprepared as they were last time, because they'll have convinced themselves it won't happen again. They'll rationalize that the grid is fixed, that they got lucky before and will get lucky again, that it's too expensive or too much work to prepare properly, and they'll suffer or die because of that choice. Real preppers don't prepare for the disasters they want to believe won't happen. They prepare for the disasters that absolutely will happen, and they prepare harder for the ones that already happened once because history shows those are the ones that come back. Everything I've talked about, winterizing your home, layering clothing, securing water and food, maintaining communication, knowing when to evacuate, these aren't suggestions. They're requirements for survival in a Texas freeze. They're lessons written in the deaths of hundreds of people who didn't do these things. You have a choice to make right now, before the next freeze warning is issued. You can take this seriously and prepare, or you can gamble with your life and your family's lives. Preparation takes time, effort, and money. But the cost of not preparing is catastrophically higher. Start today. Winterize your pipes. Build your emergency supplies. Make your plans. Test your backup systems. Talk to your family and neighbors. Learn from what happened. When the next freeze comes, you'll face it from a position of strength rather than desperation. And if you want to go deeper, you'll find in the pinned comment some guides and documents that can take your preparedness to the next level. Check them out when you're ready. The difference between surviving and becoming a statistic is the work you do right now, when the weather's clear and stores are stocked. Don't wait for the warnings. Don't wait for the panic. Prepare now, because the cold doesn't negotiate and it doesn't forgive mistakes. If you're serious about protecting yourself and the people you love, subscribe to this channel, hit the like button, drop a comment about your own freeze preparedness, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Your survival depends on knowledge, and knowledge is what we deliver here. Stay ready, stay alive.